Yo, what's going on, guys and gals? Dat here. Welcome to another NFL DraftKings Picks video. We'll be taking a look at the main Sunday slate for Week 10. There's a lot of really good matchups this week. I'm getting this video out a little late, but there was a lot of information to consider, so I appreciate your patience. Without further ado, let's get into the picks. Now, I'm strictly sticking with GPP tournament picks only. Now, since there were so many good options to choose from, I decided to base my picks off the player's floor and ceiling projections for the week. Now, if you don't know what that is, a floor is the minimum amount of points that the player could potentially bring into your lineup, and the ceiling is the maximum amount of points. Pretty simple concept. The way I look at it, for GPP, your players should have a ceiling that's 4 to 5 times their salary. For example, a $4,000 player should have a ceiling of about 16 to 20 points to be considered a solid pick. Shout out to Kev, aka the Sports Geek, for throwing that suggestion my way. If you don't follow him already, do so. He is a wealth of knowledge. Anyway, let's get into the picks. Okay, so my top tier quarterback this week is going to be Matt Ryan versus the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is pretty much the only stud quarterback on this slate this week, and at $7,300, he's just too expensive considering some of the other options we have at other positions. This Dallas versus Atlanta game has an over-under of 50 points with a 3-point spread with Dallas as the underdog, meaning the Falcons are projected to win the game by 3 points with a game total of 50. In layman's terms, that means I expect Matty Ice to throw the ball and throw it a lot. The Cowboys are not known for their secondary as they rate 26th in the league versus quarterbacks. I also project Matt Ryan to be lower owned than some of the other options on this slate like Matt Stafford versus Cleveland, Jared Goff versus Houston. I was kind of comparing Matt Ryan to Big Ben this week, but when you get right down to it, I think that Big Ben and the Steelers are going to get up early, and then they're going to ride Le'Veon Bell till the end of regulation. The Falcons, on the other hand, are going to have a real close-knit game. It's probably going to be a shootout between Prescott and Matt Ryan. For the past 3 games, the Falcons have been on the road. They're starting to lose footing in the divisions. So for these reasons, I expect the Falcons to come out swinging. So I'm going to stick with Matt Ryan as my top tier quarterback. All these other quarterbacks under $7,000 are priced so close together, you really need to dig into the stats and find out who is the best choice at the core level. Stafford, Goff, and Roethlisberger are going to get up early, like I mentioned before, and this will diminish their need to air the ball out. McCown could be considered as a mid-tier option, I guess, going against the Bucs. Like I said, it's super tight-knit with these quarterbacks this week. If you want to avoid the headache, just plug in the cheap, low-tier quarterback, which my choice for the week is Eli Manning. The Giants versus the 49ers, a.k.a. the Toilet Bowl. Both defenses aren't great, but both offenses have the capability to make it interesting. And Vegas agrees, because the over-under for this game is 42.5 points, with San Francisco as the underdog with only a 1-point spread. Eli has a very high ceiling and has high target capacity with Ingram, Shepard, and Darkwa. And at $5,100, it will leave you more cap space to work with at the other positions, and you will need it. So breaking this down, I'd say Matt Ryan is my top tier. Mid-tier, I'd probably go McCown, and low tier, I'd go Manning. Okay, for running backs, top tier, Le'Veon Bell is too expensive at $9,800. He would have to score 36 to 45 DraftKings points to meet his value at that price. I'm not saying he can't do it, but it's a bit of a stretch, so let's look further down the bench here. Not interested in Elliott this week, still too expensive, plus he's going to be highly owned in this game point total with Atlanta. Todd Gurley, on the other hand, is interesting. His floor is decent, and his ceiling meets his return value range, and most of the more casual players will most likely look over him due to the Texans being projected as number 1 overall versus running backs. However, linebacker Whitney Marsalis and J.J. Watt were a big part of that reason, and now right defensive end Joel Heath is questionable to play as well. So I'm really taking a look at Todd Gurley here. Let's see here. Fournette doesn't have a high enough ceiling at his salary to return value, and Shady has an unfavorable matchup against the ever-improving Saints defense. So I'm following that logic. I'm going to go with Todd Gurley is going to be my top-tier running back for this week for GPP. Mid-tier running backs, not interested in Ingram and Kamara because you never know who's going to go off that given week. Last week it was Kamara. The weeks before that it was Ingram. So who knows anymore? I'm not suffering the headache trying to guess and trying to think about it so much. So I'm just going to press on. Melvin Gordon would be interesting, but treads too closely on the ceiling threshold, even against the Jags, who aren't very good against the run. Carlos Hyde, though, is interesting. At $6,300, he only needs to garnish 24 to 30 points to return value. And he has a ceiling of 28.9 versus a Giants defense that's all but thrown in the towel at this point. Hyde could definitely be in play. Jordan Howard is another interesting option going against the Packers in Chicago. His ceiling is just below Hyde's. It's so close, but Hyde does have the checkdown target capability from Beathard, who continuously needs to get rid of the ball quickly in order to avoid the oncoming pass rush, and the 49ers just has a crumbling offensive line right now. So with this being PPR, I'd have to take Hyde over Howard just for that reason alone. Devontae Freeman is only $6,000? What? Wait, how? I mean, I know he hasn't gotten in the end zone since week 4, but in this high-scoring game, I don't understand why he's priced so low. Huh. Well, fortune favors the wicked. Let's scoop up Freeman at that price of $6,000. He only needs to return 24 to 30 points to meet value, and his ceiling is 29, so this is a steal. So, yeah, that's awesome. Let's see here. Low-tier running backs. Lamar Miller at $5,200. The price is right. The ceiling is right. But the spread is not right. The Texans are most likely going to be playing from behind. It looks like it's going to be a 12-point spread. And with Tom Savage under center, Miller's not going to see much action most likely. So, sorry, Miller. I'm going to have to pass this time, man. If only Watson didn't injure that ACL, I would be on Miller this week. Orleans Darkwa, $4,500. I see you going up against the worst running defense in the league. You're only $4,500, meaning your return value is going to be from 16 to 20 points, and your ceiling's at 22. So that's a great GPP play right there. Really liking Orleans Darkwa this week. I'm not interested in anyone else lower than him, so we'll move on to wide receivers. Okay, wide receivers, let's see here. Top tier, Antonio Brown's price, like Le'Veon Bell, is too damn high. At $9,500, he would have to return 36 to 45 points to meet value, and his ceiling is only 32. Again, not saying he can't get up there against the Colts, but once the Steelers get up, they'll ride on Bell till the end, so I'm going to have to pass on Brown and save the salary. Julio Jones is too banged up. He kept coming out of the game versus Carolina for the smallest hits and falls, and he choked on that wide open touchdown in the end zone. Again, his salary, even though it's $1,500 less than Antonio Brown, he still doesn't meet return value. And at his ceiling, only being 28, he needs to get 32. So no, I'm going to pass on Jones. AJ Green versus the Titans at $7,700. That matchup is good. The price is right for the return value, and I'm sure AJ is eager to wipe that Ramsey fight out of the headlines by dropping a 30 burger or higher. He may be chalk, but he's the best option in these higher priced picks. Let's see, for mid-tier, I like Golden Tate. Good matchup, good spread, good price. Marvin Jones Jr. isn't far off, but Tate has a higher ceiling by about 6 points, and we need to chase that ceiling in GPP, so Golden Tate I think is going to be my mid-tier pick. Under 6,000, lower tier. As a Steeler fan, I love me some Juju. The Colts will be more occupied with containing Brown, and Big Ben will be looking for this speedster a whole bunch, so Juju's not a bad call. Let's see. Whoa. Why is Keenan Allen $5,400? Who made these prices? Yeah, the Chargers are going up against the Jags' #1 pass defense, but still, that's crazy. $5,400 for Keenan Allen. It's just like with Freeman, he was only $6,000. What is going on? I don't like the matchup, but the price is too hard to ignore. I may have to plug him into a lineup or two just to see what happens. That's a bargain. He's the best wide receiver on the Chargers offense. It's crazy. Let's see. Robbie Anderson is pretty much established as the top tier wide receiver on the Jets, and they are going up against the Buccaneers weak secondary, but at the same time, this could be a revenge game for Austin Seferian-Jenkins, so he may get more looks from McCown. That's a tough call there. Oh, here we go. Mohamed Sanu, stack him with Matt Ryan. The Cowboys will be trying to contain Julio, which should open up more looks for Sanu, who's not to be overlooked, not to mention he gets a lot more red zone looks. I like Mohamed Sanu. I think that's going to be my guy here for this under $6,000 pricing. Let's see. People are going to be chasing Robert Woods after that monster game the entire Rams offense had last week against the Giants. They're going up against the Texans. It's a great matchup as well, but I'm looking for lower-owned guys. Deshaun Jackson would be great here, but with Ryan Fitzpatrick in at quarterback, it makes me a little iffy. If the Jets cornerback, if Claiborne is out, I would take Jackson, but that would probably be the only reason why is if Claiborne is not playing because he's injured. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on Claiborne. But as of right now, AJ Green's my top pick, then Golden Tate and Mohamed Sanu would probably be my low-tier options. So do with that information what you will. Let's move on. Okay, top-tier tight end. It's looking like it's going to be Evan Ingram. Considering he's the only high-priced tight end this week in the slate, normally I don't like paying up for tight ends, but the Giants are in a great spot here against the 49ers, and with only Shepard as the other receiving option on the team, he could have a monster game here if he gets enough looks from Eli Manning. Mid-tier options, there's a lot. Doyle, ASJ, Rudolph, Brait. Let's see. I don't like the matchup for Doyle, so I'm going to pass on him. And out of the other three options, I like Brait the best here. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not one to throw deep very often because of his tendency to cause interceptions, so he's going to be looking to throw it short, and that's where Brait comes into play. He's only $4,100. The ceiling is 23, and he only needs about 16 to 20 points to meet value. That's not to say I won't have exposure to some of the other tight ends I mentioned. I just like Brait the best here. I mean, Tyler Kroft would have been another viable option at $3,600 if AJ Green was suspended after that fight with Jalen Ramsey last week. I would be on Kroft, but surprisingly, he's not suspended, so I have to go with what I have here. Moving on to a low-tier option, I was going to be on George Kittle, but he's out. But his backup, Selleck, is an interesting choice here. $2,500, only needs to get about 8 to 10 points to match his return value in GPP, and his ceiling is 15. I guess if you absolutely need somebody under $3,000 because you paid up everywhere else, this would be a viable option. So tight ends, I like Ingram as the top, Brait as the mid, and I'll take Selleck as a low-priced tight end. Let's move on to defense. Okay, so the Lions, the Steelers, and the Rams all have really good matchups this week for defense and special teams, but they're all pretty pricey. Usually I try to stay below $3,000 or as close to it as possible at this spot, but everyone is really good this week. If I had to choose one, it would be the Rams, mainly because they're going up against the Texans, who are being led by Tom Savage under center. They might be able to turn an interception or two into some pick sixes for me. I think that's going to be my top choice for defense is going to be the Rams. Mid-tier options, I like the Bears versus Green Bay this week. The Packers' offense is beat up, and they have a rookie quarterback under center, so he could be prone to some mistakes. I have to admit, I've underestimated the Bears in the past, but I feel like it's their time to shine against their rivals at home here in Chicago. Also, the Vegas lines are projecting this to be the lowest scoring game of the slate, so we've got that going for us as well. So I like the Bears. If I had to go under $3,000 for defense, I like the Jets here versus the Bucks, who are being led by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like I mentioned before, Fitzpatrick is prone to throwing interceptions if he gets too loose, and without Mike Evans this week, it could be a long day. I'm going to go with the Jets as my low tier. So we got Rams, Bears, and Jets. So I think that's a pretty good spread. All right, and that's going to do it for the Week 10 video. Hope you guys enjoyed the picks. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter or comment down in the comment section here on the video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, turn on the little notification symbol so you get notified when I put these videos up. Thanks again for checking in. Hope you guys win some money this week, and cheers. Till next time.